Thank you so much, Cheryl, for the warm introduction, and thank you to the entire committee for inviting me. So today I have focused my talk on the different, as Cheryl said, and you've been listening since morning, that there is we need India specific research. My topic centers around as Cheryl just ended the last talk, that we need India specific research. So in my talk, um, I have tried to introduce to you all why we need India specific research, and I've shared some of the examples of what kind of research we as dietitians or diabetic educators can do, because I'm sure you have the data, but you don't know you have the data. So I'm just going to bring about some examples of what kind of research you can do. So probably, once you've been through my talk, you'll realize that you have that data and you may put it together and publish it. So this is the International Diabetic Federation Atlas or 10th edition, which is 2021. And if you see here, India is they are showing that by 2045 we would have 68% increase in diabetes in India, just Southeast Asia. The color is all India only if you see the map, which is about 152 million Indians would be suffering from diabetes in India. Another study which was published in Science Repress said this study was published in 2021, and it also had forecast from 1990 to 2025. So if you see that the highest prevalence of diabetes is in five countries, this is China, India ranking second, USA, Indonesia, and Mexico. The highest mortality in the world, India leads the number, and the leading countries with died. So which is that the the number of years which are affected because of disease, uh, India leads again in it. So why is it that we are leading in diabetes mortality and diet, and uh, how we need to do research, and why we need to do research in India in diabetes so that these numbers can come down? We need to create a healthier India. So what is unique about India? First of all, if you look at diabetes, we have high prevalence, as I showed, and we also have early onset of diabetes. As all of you all are diabetic educators, nutritionists, you all know that, now no longer type 2 is the diabetes of adulthood. We have a lot of children who are getting type 2 diabetes, and therefore there is an early onset of diabetes in India. Now, what are the reasons for early onset of diabetes in India? That itself becomes a unique research opportunity for us to come out with. Next is we have a genetic predisposition. And as all of us know, the thin fat Indian concept that has been so well explained by Dr. Yagnik, wherein, we have thinner stature, but we have higher body fat percentage, which again puts us or predisposes us to diabetes and related comorbidities. Now, this again makes it very important that we have India related or India specific research, because the kind of treatment that we're giving to our patients, the kind of outcomes we are expecting, the kind of complications that our patients would suffer would be very different because of these genetic predispositions and the phenotype. Then again, we are moving very fastly moving towards urbanization. There is a huge transition in lifestyle. Also, throughout India, you would see there is a huge social and economic difference. If I look within the city of Mumbai, where I come from, we have clusters which are super rich, we have clusters which are middle economic, and we have clusters which are down the poverty line. Now, if you look at it, we used to first say previously, say about a decade back, that diabetes is the disease of the rich, which is no longer true. Even people who come from a little less economic background, diabetes is seen in those people also. So now, as dietitians, as researchers, it becomes our responsibility to find out that why is it that a disease which was considered to be disease of the rich is now no longer the disease of the rich. Why is it that in India there is a huge prevalence of diabetes in these lower socioeconomic strata, or say poor, a little less economically advantaged people too? So this again becomes a unique opportunity for us as dietitians to, or as diabetic educators, to publish data. And unless and until we have this data, unless and until we find out that why is it that diabetes is so highly prevalent in these groups also, we won't be able to control it. So this is again very unique feature to India. Then again, we have more than 30 states and union territories in India. Now, within a state of India, also the dietary habits changes from one corner to other. Now, if I look at the state of Rajasthan, where I come from, my hometown, okay, so we have Marwadi diet, we have Mewari diets, we have Rajasthan, we have Rajputana diet. We would have then again some different tribal diets. We would also within that state also we have different kinds of diet that are there. Like if I look at Gujarat, we would have the Jain diet, we would have the Kachhi diet, we would have the normal Guju diet. So if I look at Maharashtra, we have the Konkani diet, we have different parts of Maharashtra would have different styles of diet. Now these different dietary variations, it's very important for us to understand the nuances of these diets and how it is affecting the diabetes or the prevalence of diabetes in India. Why do we need to understand the relationship of these regional diets with the prevalence of diabetes? Because if we are going to modify diet largely, which is very different from a person's daily dietary intake, they are not going to adhere to the diet. So the diet has to be custom made to the regional specific or to their own unique tastes. And that's why it's very important that we publish data for which are very regional, which are very, very specific to a particular group of people, yet we are talking about India as large. Also, as Sonal was talking about fasting, it's such a unique and integral part of our culture, whether it's whichever religion it is, fasting is a very, very integral part of our culture, and we, Jains have a different style of fasting, Islam has a different style of fasting, Hindus have a different style of fasting. Now, how do you make sure, how do you know that, diabetes, how are you going to control diabetes? We have principles out there. Great. And Sonal shared some great tips and techniques. And that comes from her unique experience of, counseling patients who have undergoing counseling at her clinic with them. And now they have that data, right? So now if they publish that data about, how they manage their patients' glycemic control during these various cultural beliefs, then that becomes again a unique opportunity for us to publish, because not all of us would have that amount of data wherein we can tell others that, okay, yes, if a person is doing Ramzan fast, how do you modify the diet? If the person is a Jain and he's fasting, how do you modify the diet? But if there's a dietitian who has large amount of data, or if there's a diabetic educator who has large amount of data on these topics, and when you publish this data, it can serve as a guideline for other dietitians or other diabetic educators to train their patients or their clients, right? And again, because of our unique phenotype and unique genetic predisposition, there is a variation in complication and risk and severity. We have very high prevalence of hyperlipidemias and again, risk for cardiovascular diseases. So, and of course, obesity and metabolic syndrome overall, which again gives us a lot of opportunities to work in research. And that is why, because there is a variation in the risk and severity of complications in India, we need to find out why is it so and how do we modify our treatment plans for Indians. And that is why we need very specific India-specific research in diabetes. So what are the research opportunities in diabetes in India? So first is epidemiology and surveillance. I have been talking with Cheryl some time back. We we do have data about, say, epidemiology or surveillance, where we talk about prevalence of diabetes or the risk factors of diabetes, or we do have data on that. But we have small little studies. We do have some pan-India studies also. However, we need more such studies because of the unique features such as our genetic predisposition, our change in lifestyle, our cultural beliefs, our religious beliefs. So there's a huge opportunity still to present data in epidemiology and surveillance in India. A simple example would be, we are trying to find out what is the difference in prevalence of diabetes in, say, urban, rural versus tribal populations. Also, or say a simple study such as impact of religion and cultural beliefs on diabetes in India. So this is one of the very basic studies which any diabetic educator or a diabetologist or a dietitian who is maintaining their data on a electronic data software can easily publish after some sort of cleaning and analysis. Most of you all are either diabetic educators or nutritionists, and nutritional interventions, as I said, we have varied diet all across India. So how do we tailor the diet specific to the person's liking and still meeting our carb, protein, fat proportions, meeting all the micronutrients and macronutrients in adequate amounts, and still have managing diet becomes a great opportunity for diabetes research. Now, all of you all who are practicing as dietitians or nutritionists, you already have a data set wherein you may have data set wherein you, if you're practicing for last 20 to 25 years like Cheryl is, she already has a lot of data wherein she knows what was the case when the patient first came to her, what was the dietary intervention that she gave to her patients, and what was the outcome of it. Just coming together, putting it together in a formal research format, in a paper publication, would give a lot of, would give ideas to other dietitians as to how should they counsel their patients. Again, we had the International Year of Millets last year, right? So just going by that example, there was a lot of studies, a simple study as to how do you incorporate a millet for glycemic control can become a research opportunity. Uh, Another example would be, we are talking a lot about ketogenic diet, intermittent fasting, and other different dietary modifications. So if you all are using those for your patients, then maybe you could publish papers into the outcome that you have observed of these diets in your patients. The third option is prevention. We all want prevention, right? We don't want the patients to be full blown, especially when we've identified pre-diabetes. So the goal of preventive and lifestyle modification studies are to develop programs that promote healthier lifestyle that can prevent or reduce diabetes. Now, these can be based on physical activity, yoga, stress management, emotional eating, mindful eating, etc. An example of it would be, effectiveness of a community-based lifestyle modification program to reduce prevalence of diabetes, or a school intervention program to make sure, the students are getting into habit of stress, mindful eating, physical activity, so that they don't develop pre-diabetes and diabetes. So that can be another opportunity. A lot of dietitians nowadays are attached to school, and they can think of this as an opportunity for conducting research and publishing research. Another one would be obviously nutraceuticals and traditional medicine. Nowadays, we are talking a lot about Ayurveda and Ayur nutrition. I do see a lot of clinical dietitians inculcating the concepts of Ayurveda and what we call as Ayur nutrition into their practice when they're prescribing diets to their clients. Also, we can talk about, a lot of spices in India, such as, say, we say methi. Now, how many studies do we really have wherein you, as a nutritionist or a dietitian, have published on work on diabetes, methi, and its impact on glycemic control? That can be a simple study which you might have the data which you can publish. Technology and digital health. How we can use technology and digital health, or how you are using technology and digital health to reduce the blood sugar fluctuations and enhance patient management can be another opportunity for research for diabetes. Genetic and epigenetic studies. As I said, we have genetic predisposition, which are unique to India. So genetic markers linked to insulin resistance, thin fat phenotype, potentials for personalized and precision nutrition can be some of the focus areas in this particular area. Then we have a large prevalence of pre-diabetes and type 2 diabetes in children. So basically interventions to reverse pre-diabetes or try and control type 2 diabetes in children, and or say remission of type 2 diabetes in children and adolescents can be another opportunity for working and for publishing data. See, next one would be cost-effective therapeutic intervention. Now, it's very important, as I said, we have a lot of population which is below, which are not so economically advantaged, but they are suffering from diabetes. We need to come up with treatments which are going to be cost effective for them. One is obviously, using generic drugs, which the doctors can do and see and then publish papers out of it. As dietitians, we can think about, how our diets and our interventions with physical activity guidance is helping these patients reduce their glycemic levels or the blood sugar levels, and how effectively we are doing it. So that can be a opportunity for research in diabetes. Another opportunity would be public health interventions, wherein we are talking about modifying health policies which are done at the government level, and then how those health policies can impact research overall and diabetes in India. And lastly, I would like to talk about health economics. Now, these are about how we can make healthcare more affordable and accessible. So this is very similar to the option number 8, but here we are talking about evaluating how much money people are spending on diabetes care across different states. That can be an example of health economics. Now, how do you make sure that you're able to publish this data? And for that, we need to do is collaborative research. If I look at one dietitian, I might not have enough data to publish a paper, right? However, I would have 10 other dietetic friends, out of which at least 4 would be amazingly great friends of mine. I could just get together with them. I could discuss my ideas of research, and they might also have similar cases as you. You can find out a common pathway in between as to what is the commonalities of data that you have in your data set that you can use to come together and publish. So that becomes a local collaboration. Then we talk about national collaboration. All of us are here on a Zoom or on an online conference, right? So when we can come online for a conference, why can't we collaborate with dietitians in different parts of the country, or diabetic educators or diabetologists or endocrinologists in different parts of the country, to form collaborations to publish pan-India studies? See, individual center studies or individual studies published by individual diabetic educators are good. But if we want to come out with consensus, we need larger data. We need pan-India data. And when only we have pan-India data, pan-India collaborations, can we come up with consensus or changes in guidelines? Okay. And of course, international collaborations. If you know people abroad, collaborate with them. Why is it important to publish international collaborations? Because only when we compare our data with the international data, would we know what are the differences in our population and the population abroad. And is it okay to apply the dietary guidelines or other guidelines purely from abroad to Indian population? And we would often find it is not, because we have a very different genotype and phenotype. And that's why international collaborations are very important. Now, one of the things that we are most concerned about is the opposite person would say no. It's already a no, but why not try? If we try, probably someone would agree, and maybe we can come out with good collaborative research and publish great data for research in India. Also, as Dr. Amit had said, it's very important that we have multidisciplinary approach when we are talking about GDM patients, right? But it's not just GDM patients that we need to have a multidisciplinary approach. We are talking about diabetes. So when we're talking about diabetes, we need to have a collaborative team of nutritionists, diabetes educator, diabetologists, public health experts to come together and form research teams, so that we have multidisciplinary teams for comprehensive research. This is one point which I tell to all my clients. Research is teamwork. So form multidisciplinary teams. And one option which I think I forgot to talk about it is use of AI in data analytics. It's very important that we learn how to integrate AI in research, because AI in research can go a long way from predictive modeling to remote monitoring. Emerging trends in telemedicine, in diabetes research would be telemedicine and diabetes. It's a great option. Omics and diabetics, metabolics, precision nutrition. That's a great upcoming opportunity. Community engagement and diabetes, that's prevention by guiding the community. And AI in diabetes is another great opportunity for research in diabetes. So I'd like to conclude my topic with saying that opportunity for research in India are many, owing to the diverse cultural, geographical, and religious differences, and also owing to the differences in genotype and phenotype in India. Explore the literature first before you decide, I'm going to work on this study. Okay. And you would be surprised to know that you already have the data. So just go read and then collaborate. modify the trends in context to India, plan a research and publish it, and collaborate for a multidisciplinary research. So thank you so much. And I hope I have inspired you for some of ideas on which you could do research in India. Thank you so much, everyone.